Guys, this is Gene Jensen, and it is time for another Friday Night Live. All right. Good grief. First of all, I want to start by apologizing. It's been 2 months, a little over 2 months since I had my last Friday Night Live. Whirlwind of trips. Went to Wisconsin to do a video shoot on the 10th of September. Went from there down to Louisiana, up to Oklahoma to fish with Evan Evers, back down to Louisiana, home for a week or 5 days, back to Louisiana, home to pick up my son, and then back to Louisiana to fish a national championship. And when I got done, I was burned out. 6,200 miles on my truck. I was whooped. And it's just taking me a little while to get things rocking and rolling again. You guys know I do. When I get burned out like that, it's so hard for me to get moving again. Those who've been following me a long time know I do suffer from depression from time to time. So I just kind of have to get out of that funk. Not all the way out of it, but I'm getting better. So, but anyway, I got these new beanies today in the mail from 13. I just kind of wanted to put one on. I was cold. Jordan and I went out and put up some deer stands tonight and took the quad about 4.5 miles down the road. And so there's no windshield on my quad, so it was cold. So I'm still a little bit freezing. So, but what's up, everybody? Welcome. Simply Fishing. Welcome, Jeremy. Welcome, man. Yes, and I'm proud of those Braves. He says, how about them Braves? I am so proud of them. Unbelievable that they won the World Series, man. Oh, goodness. But anyway, so yeah, this is one of the new beanies, and I love beanies. That's about the only thing I'll wear besides this hat right here. So, but Michael Keenan, what's going on? Let's get rid of this moron. All right, la da da. Yep. We're going to go bye-bye. Okay. Let's see. All right. Happy Veterans Day yesterday to all of my brothers and sisters in arms. Thanks, Army Outdoors 88 in November. Appreciate it. He is currently on duty. So yeah, man, sorry about that. But let's see. Oh my goodness. Wheezy. Big game tomorrow. Go Vols. Oh man, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to the Tennessee Volunteers tomorrow. Bulldogs are just a little too tough this year, and it's nice. It's nice to see it. Nice to see how they're doing. It's just incredible. What I've been a fan for as long as I've been breathing, and it's finally cool to see some Georgia teams winning. Like the World Series and doing well enough to win the national championship. We'll just see how it goes further down the road. We've been disappointed many times before, so I'm kind of used to it. Us Georgia fans and Atlanta Braves fans are one of those we don't hold our breath. We just basically just say, okay, whatever happens in the end, we're not going to believe it until it is over. So, oh goodness. Michael Moon, what's going on? Jason Lowry, what's up, man? Says my neighbor gave me a brand new Lose Baitcaster reel, and it's my first one. So question is, what rod is best for an all-around rod as far as length and all the good stuff? What I always tell people is it just depends on what the things you like to fish the most. If you're a Texas rig, jig, Carolina rig, flipping around heavy cover and stuff like that, a medium heavy. If you're a crankbait fisherman, spinnerbait, moving baits and stuff, maybe a medium fast would be good for you. But that's a good all-around reel, definitely. So, but you guys don't forget, if you look down in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, we are sponsored by the Bass University. They're good friends of mine, and no money's changed hands. We're not doing that. I love them, and I owe them a whole lot of thank yous. And so I told them that I offered to have them sponsor my Friday Night Lives. Just kind of a payback, man. They're awesome people. Bass University I go there all the time. I've been a member for I don't know how many years. $15 a month is well worth the amount of information you can get off of the Bass University, and all their videos and all their articles and everything else. So when I'm doing research on new baits or videos that I need to do, that's usually the first place that I go. So Austin, I don't like to even, I'm just going to tell you how you asked how to get into tournament fishing when you're broke. I always recommend you get a job, make a little bit of money, and then go spend your extra money on a few tournaments. It's definitely Kendall. What's going on, man? I hope Oklahoma moves on up in the standings. They deserve it. I think it's lame where Oklahoma's sitting right now in the FBS standings. So Johnny Woodcock from Facebook says, "You are the man. I learned so much from you. Plan to buy me a new boat next season. Which boat you think I should buy?" I love my Lumacraft Pro 185. They're real hard to find right now. They've suspended building new ones for right now until they can get they don't have enough employees is the problem. And so until they can get people in and trained and everything else, they've kind of suspended making those, but maybe they'll start up in the next few months and you'll find one next year. So, and hopefully I can sell mine next year. That'd be great, and get a new one. Outdoor Jack, hey Gene, what rod would you recommend for a jerk bait? I like a medium, moderate, like a short crankbait rod is what I like. I like a real flimsy one personally, but that's probably the only bait that I will throw on a glass rod as well. If you have a glass rod, one of those old ones, or even one of the new glass rods, they're really good jerkbait rods. Other than that, I don't throw anything on a glass rod. So, but now that I got a few people on, how many people are gone? I got my screen kind of cut off. So, I want to apologize to everybody for being gone for 2 months. I didn't expect to be gone for that long. But hey, life happens. You guys know that from time to time, especially this time of the year, I get in a funk, and I'm almost out of that funk. It's real hard to get motivated to get up and go do much of anything, but it is what it is. I just have to work my way through it. Usually has a lot to do with my health and how I'm feeling, and I haven't been eating good because I've been traveling and that kind of stuff. So back on my diet, and we will see what happens there. So they got some new buttons on StreamYard. That's really cool. All right. All right, Kevin Stivers has got a real long question. I hate to have you guys type the same question twice if they're real long. But anyway, I have a huge question. Everyone keeps on about a buzz toad. The buzz head that I got, it keeps rolling on its side. Why is that? Is it the head I'm using or the bait itself? Sometimes it's the bait itself. Sometimes it is that you're putting the tip of the hook too high up on the head. I'm assuming you're using like a horny toad or something that you put a extra wide gap hook in. And sometimes if you put that tip up even a 16th of an inch too high, it'll roll over on its head. You have to kind of play with it and make sure you rig it perfectly straight. So the new Buzz Toad from Spro is really good. It doesn't roll up on its side, but I love that one. It is a little pricey but it's virtually indestructible. So I really like it. I don't know why I'm yawning. I'm not tired at all. Steve Bots, airborne. I always said chairborne because I was a pogue. My supervisor nicknamed me Lawn Dart when I came back from jump school. That's not a good thing. I've never tried the cranking sticks from Bass Pro. Jamie Broad, what's up, brother? Paul Carson said, "Don't ever leave us again." That's funny. Oh, goodness. John, is it practical to fish topwater lures with a spinning reel? Yeah, you can. I'm skeptical about going over to a baitcaster herd. They bird's nest quite a bit. John, go to my channel. I've got, I think, 4 videos on how to cast a baitcaster. Go to my one where I'm teaching my nephew how to cast a baitcaster. There's a lot of tricks and stuff in there that will allow you to go out and be able to quickly learn how to do that and reduce the number of bird's nests. I get backlashes all the time fishing. I have mine set really loose, and there are times where I do get backlashes. Rarely ever get bird's nests where I can't pick them out. So make sure that you just get out there and practice. Learn a baitcaster. It's worth everything, every heartache and every issue that you have. It's worth it because 1, you get more cast in during the day. 2, you're more accurate. And 3, you just have more control over the line that's going out by using your thumb. So go watch those videos or watch that, at least that one video, because it's got all of my tricks. And it makes it really, really fun and easy to learn. So thanks, Ruben. All right, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Jerry says, new to the channel. From what I've seen so far, great content. How would you go about fishing Lake Murray? Thank you for your service and country. For serving our country. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Lake Murray. I fished it this past spring in a tournament. I zeroed the first day. Oh, I choked. And then the second day I did all right. Lake Murray it's a fun little lake. It's a blueback herring lake. And what blueback herring are typically offshore fish, but it also has a really good population of shad. But that's the primary bait fish. Typically with Lake Murray being the way it is, you got to have a boat, you got to have a kayak, you got to have something to get out on the water. But I love the dock fish on Lake Murray. Probably the easiest thing to do. You can see what you're throwing at and that kind of stuff. But I'd start off dock fishing. So, oh goodness. Rock on Bassing says, what place did you and your son come in at the KBF National Championship? I came in 25th. He came in 27th. He was 1/4 of an inch behind me. Poor guy. It was fun though, man. I tell you, we had a really cool pattern. I'll probably lose some friends over this because it was just the neatest thing. So we fished Caddo Lake, and I knew that Caddo wasn't going to be the winning lake because of the way that other lake was. Dang, I can't remember the name of it. The lake that everybody that won in the top 5 were fishing. But I needed to find enough fish for me and my son because per KBF rules, he's under 16 or under 18 years old. So I had to stay within striking distance of him. So we had to find fish that were good enough for a 3-day tournament for 2 of us. And so I found a really cool pattern on Caddo Lake. It's a swamp lake. It's got real soft bottom. Almost 100% of it is soft bottom. And the only hard bottom available are the very few drops that you can find and the cypress trees. And the cypress trees, that's what everybody was doing, flipping cypress trees and fishing in the grass, but flipping cypress trees and flipping cypress trees. Well, I figured out by accident, I caught 2 fish off of bluegill beds. Now, the bluegill were not spawning. There weren't any bluegill anywhere around those beds. But because the bluegill had fanned out all summer long, these big old holes that went all the way to the hard sandy bottom, they had hard bottom to hang out in, and the bass were hanging out in the bluegill beds. So I would side scan them with my side scan and see whether there were bluegill in those holes or bass in those holes. And if there was any fish in those holes, I would turn around and immediately start fishing a chatterbait. And the first day they choked it. I mean, they would take a chatterbait all the way to the back as long as I slow rolled it and just kind of brought it along the bottom. Second day, they would slap at it, but they wouldn't take it when I was slow rolling it. So I started yo-yoing it just a little 1.5 hops above the bottom as I'm bringing it across the bluegill beds. And again, all the way to the back of their throats. They were just just choking. At the end of the second day, Jordan had jumped way ahead of me. He was like 4 or 5 places ahead of me, maybe even a lot more than that. So the third day came along, and they weren't with the yo-yo. They weren't with the slow roll, nothing. And Jordan figured out the bite, and I kind of figured it out, but he helped me solidify what was going on. You had to jerk it all the way off the bottom, the chatterbait, all the way off the bottom, and the bass would hit it on the way up. They would hit it so hard. Jordan had one come 2 foot out of the water with the bait in its mouth and back down into the water. So just a cool bite, cool pattern. I had like 50, almost 50 bluegill beds marked, and I ran 14 miles a day just going from bluegill bed to bluegill bed. And those Dakota lithium batteries only last for about 15 miles. And on the last day, on the way in, mine died on me. I had a full charge in the morning. It died on me, and I had to paddle back, but luckily I had a tailwind. But anyway, that's the whole story. It was a lot of fun, man. It really was. Next year's going to be on Kentucky Lake, and Jordan won't be fishing in it because he's going to be graduated and out of town. So I'll definitely be a little bit more serious about next year. So, Hey, Gene, did you ever think of inviting Edwin Evers to join you on Friday Night Live chat? Yes, we talked about it, and we're going to do that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we basically, when I was at his house, we were bouncing questions off of each other, and he really was picking my brain about YouTube and having me look at his analytics and all kinds of cool stuff. And I learned a lot about him and about the followers that he has. And they're different followers than what I have. It's pretty neat to see. But anyway, yeah, we'll have him on there. So, oh. I knew somebody was going to bring that up, Andy. Andy Leonard talked about me falling out of my kayak. He said, good thing it had a soft bottom when you went diving into the water with them crocs floating nearby. Actually, it's not a good thing. When I fell in and was getting back up into the kayak, I couldn't kick very well because the mud was just a real thick consistency, but it was like 6 feet deep. And so I couldn't get enough motion to kick. And I did most of it with my arms, which is scary because the way you get back into a kayak, open water style, and if you look at that video again, and I'm going to make a video about this where I go over me falling out of that kayak, but I jumped up, I popped up, and I leaned immediately across my kayak to put my weight in the center of the kayak to keep it from flipping over. That's usually when we flip our kayaks, is when we're trying to get back in. And so one of the things I recommend that everybody in a kayak does several times a year when the water's warm is get your butt out of your kayak and get back in it. Practice getting in it. It will save your life. It will literally save your life one day. And so, and of course, take all your gear out and everything else, but practice getting back into your kayak. You'll be glad you did. So, Jonathan Fullwood, man, thanks for the $5. I really appreciate it, man. That's awesome. I need a drink. Let me text my wife, see if she'll bring me a drink. My throat is dry. What's the coldest water temperature you would try for a topwater bite? 55, and it has to be in the spring when it's warming up. The bass aren't typically shallow and active in the fall when it gets down below 60. And so that's typically what I'll do. Hold on just a second, guys. Let me text my wife. I know she's not listening, so. Sorry, guys. All right. Whoo, Casual Bass Guy. Thanks for the $5. He says, Fluke Master, see if you can fit in the All-American Kayak Classic Open Shootout Qualifier. April 29th and 30th on Truman Lake. Where is Truman Lake? I'll have to look that up. Shoot me a message on Facebook if you can. I check my Facebook messages a lot more than I check Instagram. Instagram has gotten really hard to use lately. So when you throw a whopper plopper versus a spook, I throw a whopper plopper when it's real windy. It's typically when I'll throw one. When they're shallow, they're busting. They're really, really shallow on flats, and I'm going to throw that. I'll throw a spook open water. I'll throw a spook when there's just a little chop on the water. When it's dead calm, I'm throwing a buzzbait. So best spinnerbait trailer. I don't know about it's the best, but the only one that I really use is the old tried and true Zoom split tail. Is usually what I use. So Lanier Coleman says your interview with Edwin was great. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I loved doing that. That was pretty neat. If you guys haven't gone over to Edwin Evers' channel, check out that interview we did. It's open. Check out that interview we did. So thank you, sweetie. Appreciate it. Oh goodness. Sorry. But yeah, that was a good interview. Kendall says, what did you think about Oklahoma? Did you fish and where? I can't remember the name of the public lake that we fished. The buzzbait video that my son's working on right now that I did with Edwin was done on a private lake, and it was really cool. We only had like an hour and a half in the evening when I first got there, and so we ran out there and shot a real quick video. But and then the other one was about an hour and a half from his house, and we went there and had that shindig where he beat me in one. I've got to wear an Oklahoma hat. I'm gonna try to get that done. We had a bet, and so I lost the bet, and I've got to wear an Oklahoma hat and in a video, and so I'm gonna try to get that video done before football season is over. So that's why I'm hoping Oklahoma gets a little bit higher in the standings. That would make it really, really cool. So let's see. Hey, Gene, would you ever have Brian Latimer on your show? You bet I would. I love B-Lat. I mean, I've been a fan of his before people knew who B-Lat was. So, yeah, definitely. You know, I've been thinking I might change either the dates, probably the day of the week that I do my Friday Night Lives, and they won't be called Friday Night Lives anymore. Mainly because when I first started Friday Night Live, I did it because that was the worst night of the week to launch a video. Now it seems like everybody else wants to do Friday nights or do lives on Friday nights. I don't understand. It's still the worst night to do anything. So, and plus, I'd like to start having more date nights with my wife. And so I'm probably going to end up doing it Thursday nights, I'm thinking. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But it's definitely, there's going to be a change. I just got to spend more time on my wife, and she's with her job. Friday night's usually the only time that we can do it. So we can have a date night. And I'm tired of rushing home to do these on our date night. So what's your go-to water temp is 42 degrees, jig and a jerkbait. That's it. That's about all I'm going to throw. Well, actually, no. That's if they're shallow. If they're deep, I'm going to go to a blade bait or a tailspin. And then I'll get into some of these ice fishing baits, and I'm going to do a video about those. I'm not sure when, but I'm going to try to do one this winter on some of the ice fishing baits that I use when I'm fishing for bass down deep. So, this is a good question, Jordan. It's a good basic question, but it's a really, really good question. He says, when do you use a baitcaster versus a spinning reel, or when do you use each of them? So the baitcaster, I use it 90% of the time. Usually when I'm fishing power baits or baits that are heavier, so like jigs and Texas rigs that have plenty of weight on them. I use it when I'm fishing baits that I need to be really accurate. When I'm pitching around cover, I'm using it when I need to have a lot of power behind my hook set because I'm able to use heavier rods. It's just an all around really good bass fishing rods. Spinning reels and spinning rods, I'm going to be using those for light line techniques, finesse stuff like shaky heads and Ned rigs and that kind of stuff, drop shots. Something where I need a really good fighting rod that's gonna really protect my light line. And so that's typically when I'm using spinning rods. I recommend for beginners who want to skip under docks to use a spinning rod. And that's about it, really. And of course, you get into bluegill and that kind of stuff. That's a whole different ballgame. I'm using spinning rods all the time. So, Will a fluke work on a spinnerbait? It will. I just think, and I just lost your comment. I was going to click on it. There it is. It will, but I think that it's just too fat. It tends to get in the way of the hook set. So you can use like a paddle tail that has a thinner body than a fluke, but it all depends. So Lanier Coleman Boomer Sooner. There's another good question, Joshua. He says, how do you grow confidence in a bait? I try to use a bait, but would only cast it a few times and put it down. The reason you put it down is because you had something else in the boat that you had more confidence in. Leave everything at home. I've got a video about this that I made years and years ago with a jerkbait, of all things, which is the one bait I still don't have 100% confidence in. But you leave everything else at home. Take a few of the baits that, a jig, take a few jigs, or if it's a jerkbait, take a few jerkbaits, a few different colors, but take them to the water and fish them as long as it takes, really as long as it takes, and study, go online, look at videos about that specific bait, look at the different techniques according to, what people are fishing and that kind of stuff. And there are a few of us that really do explain that well. And then just get out there and just fish it until you get confidence in it. You've got to. I lost confidence in a spinnerbait years ago, and I finally did that. And I went out and I took 4 days of fishing with a spinnerbait before I got it. And I got it again. But I used to catch fish on spinnerbait all the time, just stopped, and just lost confidence. Jennifer Ellis, how you doing? She goes, love the videos you did with Edwin. Is Edwin planning to come see you? Can't wait to see where the OU hat is. Oh, see me wear the OU hat. Yeah, I'm not, their schedules, when you're talking about tournament pros. So we've talked about him coming to visit me. I hope he can do it in the summertime when I'm catching big ones. But if he can do it this winter, we'll go find some. It'll be fun. But yeah, I'm going to end up wearing that OU hat eventually. So, Andy, you don't have to worry about it. I am not changing Friday Night Live to Monday. I guarantee you that. So, it's another good question. Goodness, you guys got some great questions tonight. Pole Bender says, after you stick a bass or after you hook a bass and lose it, how long do you think until they will bite you again? I hope they don't bite me. No. It really depends on the bass. There are times where I've caught them a day after, and there are times where this May and April and May, my big fish during the KBF Challenge Series tournaments, my big fish in April is the same in May. I caught them 14 days apart off the same exact stump. And so they will bite again, but most of the time I usually give them 3 days, maybe 4, just to make myself feel better and get a little bit more confidence about catching that same bass. Now, I know some people that have hooked them big ones in a tournament and gone back the next day, fished the same log, same stump, same piece of cover, and caught that same fish. So it just depends on the fish. Andy Leonard said he likes the action of the Missile Mini D chunks. I do too. I haven't used them yet, but I played with them at iCast, and I really did. Really did. Thanks, Aaron Bent. Appreciate it. Let's see. Used your fish grip method for measuring fish the other day. Got everything ready. Went to get the fish and had a 10-foot gator looking at me. I'm sorry, David. I don't mean. Yeah, I do mean to laugh. Oh, it's funny. Oh man, I was paddling back on Fellsmere before they opened up to boats. I was paddling back, and I was in about 2 foot of water, and I'm paddling back to the ramp. I'm almost there, and I paddle over, and I feel clunk, and I'm like, oh, and I kept on paddling. The pucker factor got really, really high. Man, I had popped about an 8-foot gator. He was laying on the bottom, and I hit him with my paddle as I was going over top of him. So, are white worms good in foggy mornings? I wouldn't think so. I really wouldn't. I would go with a darker color or a bright color. What's up, Fluke? What did you do different with the spinnerbait to get the confidence back? That's a good question. Biggest thing is I fished it. The other thing is I banged it up against a whole bunch of everything. Everything that I could hit, I would hit. It's a moving bait, and you really want to change actions and stuff. And I practiced. I played around with popping my rod while I was fishing it, yo-yoing it, and I learned. And at that point in time, there wasn't a whole lot on. Well, there wasn't a YouTube. I did a lot of article reading, a lot of asking questions on forums back in the day, and that kind of stuff. And so it was just a matter of just understanding it again. So actually, I learned a whole lot more than I knew before. Drew, thanks for the $5. He says, what would be your best piece of advice for someone looking for sponsors for the next season? What I tell everybody is, and this is the advice that I got when I was at that point in that stage where I wanted to make this a living, but I knew I was going to take me a few more years. And so I wanted to line up sponsors and that kind of stuff, because you can't do this without sponsors. I wish you could. Believe me, if I could drop all my sponsors tomorrow, I would, just so I could just focus on this, but I can't, because I gotta feed the family. Got to keep my wife happy. But anyway, I tell everybody, make yourself valuable. Make yourself so valuable, one, they can't ignore you. But the biggest thing is do things for them before you ask for anything in return. So what Mike Buca used to do way back in the day, in early 2000s, is he would write articles and put them online, and he would post a lot of stuff on forums. This was 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. It's a long time ago. And he would keep track of everything that he did for these companies, and he would send them a quarterly report. This is what I did for you this quarter. This is what I did for you this quarter. He kept doing it. And back then, because there wasn't a whole lot of people on the internet, it took him about 4 or 5 years of doing this, but he continued to do it, and he was able to get sponsorships from some of the largest companies in the industry. So that's the biggest thing, is do things for them, make yourself known, and don't quit, because a lot of times it takes 6 or 7, 8 times for them to remember who you were and then get serious about wanting to do something with you. So thanks for the $5, brother. Bottom Line Outdoors, currently using a Megabass Vision 110 Junior. Vision 110. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. How do you determine what size hook to buy to replace the original hooks? A lot of times I'll look it up online, but typically for a Vision 110, I think that's a size 5 or size 4. And there's very few companies that make a size 5. So I think it's a size 4 light wire. But best thing to do is look it up online. A lot of times the companies, especially a Vision 110, I'm pretty sure they'll tell you what size hook it has. So what's your favorite spinnerbait, blades, brand, etc.? Woo! I love a Mini-Me by SOB Lures. I've been using those for many, many years. Your standard Strike King spinnerbaits, most of them are really good. That's typically the only ones that I use. I'm trying to think of anything else. I do have some custom ones made every once in a while from Greenfish Tackle. Theirs are great. They're great quality and everything else. Good competitive prices. But I typically don't buy their spinnerbaits off the shelf, because I'm friends with them. I call and have them custom make them for me. So, fish in the Southeast, I'm in need of a swim bait rod. Does 13 make a good swim bait rod? I need it for glide baits that up to 7 ounces. Yes. Trying to think. I have a swim bait rod, or 2 of them, that I use for bull shads. They're like $90. I want to say they're not the Omens. Gosh almighty, I'd have to go out in the barn to get them. I can't remember which ones they were. Theirs are decent. They're not great. Now, their higher end ones are really, really good. I have some Muse ones that were really good. I'm not sure they're still making those, but those are the ones that I use for 13. But they do have swim bait rods. They're made for swim baits. They were designed by swim bait guys. And then to pair it up with a reel, get the the Concept A3, which is a big spooled reel made for big swim baits and big baits. So Lori Hare, she says, do you have any tips for live bait fishing? I don't really fish a lot of live bait for bass. I usually only fish live bait for crappie and sometimes bluegill for, crickets and worms and stuff for bluegill. For bass, I just enjoy using artificials more than anything. And that's just my thing. So, and I am going to do some crappie videos this winter. Definitely, because this is the only time of the year I fish for crappie. I usually only fish from December, January, February. So, goodness gracious, I don't know why my throat is so dry. Is a Ned rig a viable technique for fall winter fishing from the bank? If so, would you recommend dragging the bottom or swimming it? I think it is. I always swim it. When I'm fishing the bank, usually I'm fishing ponds and not a whole lot of bank access here in Georgia outside of private ponds, and they're usually real soft bottom. So I'm going to slowly swim it on the bottom. But if you've got to drag it, if you got hard bottom, you can drag it and you'll catch fish. Most people think that bass will not hit a moving bait when the water temperature gets really cold. I've literally broken 1/4 of an inch of ice off of a boat dock or a boat ramp, put the boat in, and went fishing and caught them on a crankbait and caught them on a spinnerbait. And so, but I had to fish slow and everything else. And the bite was not very strong. It was just kind of felt like a wet sock on the end of the line. But you can catch them on moving baits in the wintertime. You just have to get real close to them is typically what you have to do. If Edwin's watching, thanks for mailing me my Yeti back. My kids, well, I call this my whoopee. So I don't ever go anywhere without it. It's almost always got water in it. I've had it for about 2 years. It's the only Yeti thing I've ever bought. So anyway, and I love it. Oh, there's one from Damon. Hey, Damon, what's going on, man? It says, how's it going? It's been a minute. How have you been? I've been good. Just kind of got in a funk and got away from doing stuff. So typical this time of the year, especially if I'm burned out after a long travel trip like I took. So, but I'm getting over it. Let's see what else is going on. A lot of you guys are helping me answer these questions, and I really appreciate it. I really do. Here's one. Hunter Nixon. Would you fish a flat side square bill in the same area as you would a standard 1.5 or a square bill? Yeah, I would, but I typically fish flat sided square bills early in the spring is where I have the most confidence in them. Now, I've caught fish all year long on them, but I have the most confidence in a flat sided square bill early when the water temperature is still below 55. I'll throw a flat-sided square bill, even when it gets up a little bit warmer than that. But typically at 55 is when I start throwing other things like creature baits and that kind of stuff. So, what would you rather throw on a jig, a rage tail menace or a rage tail craw? I honestly see those as the same. Because I'm worried about how much action I get out of the claws. So a menace is really good if I'm not skipping. If I'm going to skip that jig any, I'm actually going to be throwing a rage bug on it or something that's got a flat bottom to it. Now, typically the two types of jigs that I'm looking for is in the wintertime, I'm throwing something with no action. So I'm throwing a chunk trailer, like a super chunk or a super chunk junior from Zoom, or anything that just has those two little straight flat claws. Then in the summertime or in the warmer months, I'm throwing something that's got a lot of kick, has a lot of action because I'm working it a lot faster. My nose is itching. Sorry, people. Not picking it. Oh, goodness. Rock on Bassin, man. Thanks for the $10. I really appreciate it. He says, thank you for the recommendations on the size screen for my yak. Humminbird Helix 10. in DI, I showed my son the video of you falling in the water, and and he haven't left home without it. Dang right. Goodness, that's a good size. 10 inches. I wouldn't get any bigger than that. That's for sure. Does scent matter? Yes, it does. I'm just kind of scanning these comments, trying to get caught back up. I just don't want the smell to be me. I don't want them to smell whatever I got on my hands and that kind of stuff. I use JJ's Magic. It has worked for me for many, many, many years. So, do you prefer a finesse jig or a pitching jig through the warm much? I have pitching jig. It's typically what I'm throwing, or dragging a football jig, but a bigger jig. A finesse jig, I usually throw a finesse jig on lakes, little ponds and lakes that I know that I'm not looking for a really giant fish, or when I'm just looking for a bite, and then I'm gonna upsize it. Now, there was a few days this year where the bass seemed to want a smaller jig, but I didn't go to a finesse jig. I just downsized my trailer a little bit and made it smaller, and ripped some of the skirt material off the skirt to make it look smaller. So, Dakota Trent, what's going on, man? He says, going out next week for the first time in a while here in Oklahoma, do I fish backs of pockets or points? Hard to do both in my kayak. Typically, this time of the year, I'm looking the backs of pockets and all the way in the back of creek arms. I mean, like all the way back. Like, put your paddle in the water and you're in 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet of water. And that's how shallow you are. Man, there's a lot of guys donating. Hold on, let me go find them and get caught up. Army Outdoors, thanks for the $10. It says, best advice here in Kentucky in 2022. Start fishing them or running them. That's two different things. Start fishing them. Me personally, I'm a huge fan of like the evening pot tournaments where it's like 4 hours and you throw $25 in a pot and go out and go fishing. And then you can go to your tackle shops and stuff like that, look for flyers and see which ones you want to enter. If you don't have a boat, the best thing to do is to find a club. Join a club as a co-angler and see if you like that. I've never done that, so I can't give you 100% recommendation on it, but I know a lot of people that have. So thanks for the $10. Colin, thanks for $10. He says, hey, Gene, it was great seeing you in Dayton when throwing a blade bait. Do you slow roll or yo-yo it? I almost always yo-yo it. Unless the bass tell me that I need to be slow rolling it, but I'm almost always yo-yoing it. So, you ever used a Humminbird 360? No, I haven't. I have not. That's a good question. Freckle Seth, he says, I want to start fishing like from the beginning. I would like to know what is needed. Okay, so the best way for me to get you to do this and do it the right way, on my channel is a playlist called For Beginners. And it starts out at the very basics, like, fishing license and that kind of stuff. And each video builds on top of the other one. And you'll get down to one where I'm talking about baits for the beginners. And I go to a tackle shop and I just pull out some basic beginner style baits that are going to get you started in the right direction. But watch all the videos in that playlist. And I really did put a lot of time and effort into putting all those together and pulling the ones out of my channel that would work best for beginners. So I've taught thousands of people how to fish using those videos. So I know that you can jump on there and do the same thing. So good luck. Have fun doing it, man. Which fluoro has the least memory? I need something manageable that won't break easily. You get what you pay for with fluoro, 100%. So the Abrazex that I use and the Tatsu, which is the high-end cigar stuff, has got the best low memory line. Fluorocarbon resin is expensive. It just is. It's just going to be expensive. But so the more you spend on it, the less memory it's going to have. There's the new stuff that's coming out from Cigar that's for beginners. that is not, and it's not as good as the Tatsu. It has more memory than the other stuff, but it's still a really good fluorocarbon line for beginners or for guys that are still using mono and but want to use a fluorocarbon but don't want to spend a whole lot of money. But it's called Basics. It's called Basics Fluorocarbon, and it's $10 a spool. Oh, goodness. Have I fished Lake Lanier before? Yes, I have. Not my favorite lake, and it's not because of the fishing. It's mainly because of the idiots in the boats. So I don't like. No, I don't like Lake Lanier. There's a whole bunch of teenagers in Daddy's expensive boat, and they don't need to be driving a boat. If you could only upgrade one thing, okay, thanks for the $10, by the way, and I'm gonna read your question. He says, you can only upgrade one thing for the season. Would you get a spot lock trolling motor or a power pulse? If you fish shallow lakes a lot, like Florida lakes that are less than 6 feet deep, a power pole. But if you fish offshore a lot, or you fish lakes that have got very little shallow water that's less than 8 feet or less than 6 feet, then you need to get a spot lock. Spot lock has changed the way I fish. I would totally recommend that. But if you're thinking between the two, I put a power pole on when I'm fishing shallow lakes. I put a spot lock trolling motor on when I'm fishing deep lakes or deeper lakes, really. So again, thanks for the $10, man. I appreciate it. Guys, you can tell I haven't done this in a while. I'm already losing my voice. I usually can last an hour. I done lost my touch. Woo! Yeah, I do need to get some help on here. Maybe I ought to call Edwin and see if he'll jump on. Oh. What's the best budget bait casting combo for a budget fisherman? I did not realize how many combos that 13 Fishing has. And I am sponsored by them, but I'm not trying to plug their combos. But I was at iCast, they had a ton of combos. I'm like, guys, and they weren't less than $100. They were like 125, 140. Had good reel on a good rod. And they said, yeah, we sell more combos than anything else. It did not compute because I always buy mine separate and I never even looked at the combos. But I always recommend, if you're looking for one under $100, go to Bass Pro, go to Academy Sports, look at theirs, but try to stay as close to $100 as you can. Because you get any less than that for a rod and reel combo, you're getting an okay reel with a piece of junk rod. I guarantee it. So 13's got some new beginner reels coming out called the Origins, and I just picked up some. They just arrived in the mail a few days ago, so I haven't put any line on them. But they feel like $120 reels, and I think they're $60, $65, and $70. So I'm pretty happy about those reels. But I haven't put them to the test yet, so. Let's see. It's a good question. Hey, man, what are your thoughts on having live scope on kayaks? I love it. Absolutely love it. I've had live scope for 5 months now, maybe 6 months now, since the summer. And it is so much fun to use, but I have to put it down and go fishing for about 3 or 4 days without it, just so I can keep that edge. I hate relying on technology, so I got to keep that edge of being able to catch fish that I can't see. But with the live scope, you're sight fishing. The more you use it, the better you get at it, and I love it. I love it. It is awesome. So. Dayton, he says, I bait fish on Lake Lanier. because I live there, but I do see a lot of people go 20 miles per hour in a no wake zone. Ain't no joke. No joke. I had a guy. Okay, I wasn't going to tell this story. So I had a guy. I was fishing on a Wednesday night, and wasn't even thinking about it. I was just fishing a brush pile, and evidently some Wednesday night pot tournament had let off on some boat ramp, and this guy came all the way up to me, laid or set down his boat, got up, and started to cuss me out for fishing his brush pile. Literally wanted to fight because I was fishing his brush pile. And I told him straight up, I looked at him and said, when you put a sign with your name on it, you can say it's your brush pile. But he got up and he was about to step in my boat, and he literally wanted to fight. And I'm like, dude, what kind of crack are you smoking? And he just about stepped in my boat, and I looked at him square in the face, and I said, if you make one step onto my boat, it will be the last step you make in your lifetime. And he knew I was serious, and he turned around and got back in his boat. And I said, when I'm done fishing this brush pile, you can have at it. And I kept fishing, and that man was about to fall down, and he was going to get lead poisoning. I was not playing that game, not in water. Not in the water. Anyway, let's see. I'm reading some of your comments. Those are funny. Your channel helps me out a lot because I'm a Georgia fisherman as well. Thank you so much. Help me slay the bass this time of year. That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. Antonio, how many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? 2. Let's see. American Variety Outdoors. Congrats to you and your son on the strong finish in the KBF National Championship. Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited. And if we ever do get paid the money we won, I'm pretty sure he's already got it spent. That's for sure. So, Colin Burnett thanks for the $5, brother. Says on Chick, the water temp is 58. Not a lot of bait in the back of sloughs. Would you go fish some ledges or go crank some bluffs? I wouldn't go cranking any bluffs, not yet. 58, the bait fish are so far back in the backs of those creeks. They typically will pull out of like the shallow pockets and the shallow sloughs, and they'll get back into the backs of creeks. But they're super, super shallow, or at least they should be. Now that water's been doing funky stuff though. On Chick, it's been dropping, and if it drops, the bass are going to pull out, the bait fish are going to pull out. And I found them during a high school tournament in 10 feet of water, but we couldn't catch them. They weren't biting a daggum thing, mainly because the water had dropped 12 inches in 12 hours. And so that's the biggest thing is the bait fish want to get up the creeks into where that new water is coming into the lake. And that's where they're going to find the most food for them, and then the bass are going to follow. But once it hits 53, they start to move back out. Let's see. That's the good one. Lucky says, I have never fished tournaments, but why do pros have to take a lie detector test? Because people still try to cheat. I love fishing tournaments where they randomly choose somebody to take a lie detector every single tournament. I love them because it makes people think twice about cheating. It really does. And I've fished tournaments where people have been caught cheating. I've seen the cops come and put handcuffs on people, and those people are lucky the cops are there, because I'm sure Bubba and his buddies weren't going to let that guy make it to his truck without getting his teeth kicked in. And so it's unfortunately, there are people out there that when you put money in, get money involved, they're going to try to cheat. I love KBF because they are so good at catching people cheating. And the other kayak organizations are learning how to do it, but KBF is really good at it. I'm because I know the owner. because I know Chad. I know a lot more stories than what he lets out in the public, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But people get caught, and what sucks is you get caught. You don't ever get to fish a tournament again, at least not in that area. In kayak fishing, you don't even get to fish anywhere in the country. So why would you cheat? Have I ever fished Fort Yargo? I have not. I almost have, but I never have gotten up there. Let's see. How many of you guys think that the Georgia Bulldogs are going to beat the living crap out of Tennessee Volunteers tomorrow in football? Just want to know. Just take a little poll. What's going to happen? I say it's going to be Georgia by 3 touchdowns and maybe a field goal. I don't think Tennessee's going to score a touchdown. So, let's see. Dayton says, I just started my YouTube channel last week. Any tips? If you just started it last week, and I'm going to be 100% serious, and I'm not being mean when I say this. If the way I've always felt is if you have 2 or 3 videos, you don't have a channel. You just have 2 or 3 videos. When you have about 20 videos, and this is YouTube used to tell you this, years and years ago, they wouldn't even consider you to be part of the partner program unless you had at least 20 videos, and they had to be good videos. Well, they had to be within the rules of YouTube. But you got to, the biggest thing is don't quit. Make as many videos as you can without losing your mind, but don't quit. And then continue to try to get better. I'm always continuing to try to get better. Matter of fact, when my son graduates and he's no longer my editor, I'm going to work really hard to becoming as good, if not better than him, and try to create more and better content. But always try to get better and just don't quit. That's the trick. So Adam, where's your comment? Oh, I see it. There it is. Thanks for the $10, man. He says, how would you fish a soft bottom with very muddy water this time of the year? Fishing Lake Lynn in Raleigh, North Carolina. My biggest rule with soft, muddy bottoms is don't fish anything on the bottom. Don't fish anything that's going to sink down in that mud and no longer be a target for the bass. Find the hard spots. There's going to be drops, steep drops where the silt can't settle on top of those drops. Maybe a dock post, maybe a stump or a log or things like that. Focus on the hard stuff. Especially this time of the year, the shallow hard stuff. Those logs warm up. Those the stumps warm up. If there's any rocks in the water, they're going to warm up, and those bass are going to be really really close and really shallow. Is typically what I'm going to do this time of the year until it gets really, really, really cold and they move back out deep. Let's see. 42-17. 17's might 17, Jason, that might be giving Tennessee too much. I don't think they're going to score 17 points. I've seen I've seen a couple of their games. I binge watch football all week. So, Jennifer Ellis, she says, "What's wrong with people? If I saw you fish near my spot, I would be so excited about the fluke fishing near me." This is before YouTube started really getting big for me. I was doing YouTube, but I wasn't a big channel. But yeah, there are some knuckleheads in the world, that's for sure. Some dumb knuckleheads. Goodness. Does Tennessee still have a team? Oh, Jacob Neubauer. He says, I'll be entering into the KBF tournament at Lake Murray this February. Have you ever fished it? Any tips for success? I have. I fished it. I didn't fish it in February, and I will probably be fishing that tournament. But I don't know. February is really touchy. You can find them shallow. I know you can. I don't know. I'd have to look at the weather. It's one of those things where if it's if you have a little warm spell, they'll move shallow quick, and they'll move to the backs of the creeks quick. So, but yeah, I'm probably going to end up fishing that one. That's the one I zeroed the first day and did pretty good the second day. And I gotta go back and redeem myself. Rocky Top shocks the puppies. Oh, Thacker. Goodness gracious. Are you gotta be kidding me? There's gonna be a lot of people, a lot of Georgia Bulldog players that are gonna have to lay down for that to happen. I live in Las Vegas and fish local tournaments on Lake Mead and Lake Mojave. Winter fishing on Lake Mead is almost impossible. Yeah, I've heard that. Tips on winter fishing in the desert. Ever been? I have never been. I know the water's like super, super clear. I don't know, brother. The best thing I would say is find a guide and get him to take you out and kind of show you not spots, but show you how to fish the lake, specifically Lake Mead. It's just a different animal than what I've ever fished. It is on my bucket list to come fish Lake Mead. But definitely it's one of those things where I would recommend that you drop some money and take a guide out and have them show you the lake. So, see. I'm sorry. I started this crazy football commenting. That's hilarious. Anyway, is that what it is now? Casual Bass Guide. It says to be in the partner program is 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subs to be in the partner program. Huh. Wow. You know what it was when I was you had to have, at least 20 videos, but you had to fill out a job application and send it to them, and they would eventually get around to looking at it. They'd go back and they'd check your channel. They'd send you some questions. You'd answer the questions, and they said yes or no. And you never knew what they would, if they said no, why they said no or anything else. And so it was kind of a crapshoot. But, and it was a pretty serious deal. There weren't a whole lot of partners in the partner program when I started. It was a brand new deal. So, but that's how it all started. It's kind of crazy. KBF has an event on Lake Murray. Yes, it's a 2-day, 2 different tournaments on a Saturday and a Sunday, and it's their trail series. KBF started holding, instead of having a whole bunch of tournaments all over the place where we spend a ton of money going for like 2 little, a tour tournament here and a tour tournament here. They'd have 2 separate tour tournaments so you can double up the points, the Angler of the Year points, on a Friday or a Saturday and a Sunday at a lake. So pretty neat. GC Fishing, what are your thoughts on West Point LaGrange? I've only fished West Point once, and it was with the family. And West Point used to be from what I heard, used to be a really good offshore ledge lake. I don't think it's much that anymore, but I don't know much about it. I know my son has a high school tournament this next spring on it, so I'll definitely know more about it this spring. So, Craig, have you been throwing the new big blade chatterbait? What are your thoughts? Just got some this past week and had great luck on Hartwell. They slipped me one a couple of them under the table at iCast. So I've been fishing them since they announced them. I like it. It is one of those things where you're going to lose a few more fish because of the size of that blade. But if you need to slow roll a chatterbait, it has got a thump, and you can reel that thing as slow as you possibly can, and it stays thumping. Just puts a lot of vibration. It's really good in stained to muddy water. Think of it as like the difference between a willow leaf spinnerbait and a Colorado blade spinnerbait. Willow leaf's got a little bit of vibration, and the Colorado blade's got a whole bunch, and that's the same thing with that chatterbait. So it's a pretty good deal. It has its place. Still doesn't take the place of the jackhammer. But when I've got muddy water, I'm going to throw it, and I'm going to try it, and definitely going to try to catch fish on it. So, Everybody's subscribing to Dayton's channel. That's awesome, y'all. Stephen Guthrie, you done lost your ever-loving mind 73-3. Your son needs to pop you in the back of the head right now. Oh, too many hours driving the truck. You need to get out of your truck. Let's see, Fry Guy. I would like to see a chat with Greg Blanchard as your guest. That would be interesting, the Fry Guy. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I didn't even thought about it, Greg. I wonder if he'd be up to that. I wonder. I'd have to text him and see. But yeah, if I start, I'm definitely going to start doing these on Thursdays. I might even start next Thursday. Yeah, because Friday I'm going to be on an airplane, so I might end up starting next Thursday. So my wife and I are flying out west to Utah to go visit my son. So, let's see. Suggestions on where to fish in Florida in mid-February. I love Headwaters Lake. I love fishing Toho and Kissimmee. Around that area are my favorites in February. Still a little chilly for them to be spawning, but they're big and fat and they're hungry and they're feeding really, really good. If you're looking for spawners in February, I'm typically going to be a little further south than that. But definitely, no, they will be spawning in February. What am I thinking? Yeah, it's gonna be Toho and around there though. Definitely. January, I'm typically catching spawners there. Sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's see. Steve Potts, he says, my 6-year-old daughter forced me to start videos, and she caught her personal best on the first cast of our first video. How cool is that? That is so freaking awesome. See, have you ever thrown the Savage Gear Pulse Tail Bluegill or Matt Lure's Ultimate Bluegill? Any thoughts? I have not thrown the Savage Gear one. I didn't like the feel of it. The Matt Lures, I have a bunch of the original Matt Lures bluegills that he hand painted. But I haven't thrown those in years. So, but the biggest thing I remember about the bluegills, they were his soft bodied ones, was that you had to grease them down with like, any kind of attractant or fish attractant that had, like it felt like Vaseline to keep the bass from ripping that bait up. So, and make it to where you get better hook sets. Hey, Gene, what's the best Florida search bait in the fall? I love a paddle tail worm where I'm throwing it out on like a 16th or an 1/8 ounce weight on the front, a little Texas rig weight, throwing it out and just reeling it through the grass is what I'm typically doing in the fall. Let's see. Actually, I use that all the time, really. I use it in the spring, too. Tackle Junkies in the house. What is up? You guys, Tackle Junkie has a live event on Sunday nights. That's why I'm not moving mine. TJ or Jimmy, I'm moving mine to Thursday nights. Friday's gotten too crowded. So, but I'm not moving it to Sunday because I know you own that. So we're going to let you keep that one. I'm going to let you keep that one. You probably come over here and beat my tail if I started having mine on Sundays. Oh, welcome, brother. GC Fishing, any suggestions on how to catch bass when hybrid or schooling by the thousands all around you? If hybrids are schooling by the thousands all around me, I am no longer a bass fisherman. I'm a hybrid fisherman. I used to keep 2 bags of Zoom Fat Albert grubs in pearl and a bunch of lead-headed jigs to put on those, and I'd just catch them till my arms hurt. I had one day years ago, Jake was still in elementary school. I dropped him and Jordan off at elementary school, went to the lake. About an hour after getting there, I saw them schooling out on the main lake. I started catching them, And from then until I had to leave at 2:30 to go pick them up, I was catching them every other cast. I mean, I went through bag after bag of soft plastics. I had blood coming off my hands. I had blood all over the boat. I had a limit of fish in the back. It was so much fun. So definitely. Let's see. What time would you start on Thursdays? Probably 9 o'clock. Probably still the same time. I started early today just because I felt bad because it's been 2 months. So mostly thrown the Thunder Cricket, but have you picked up a cross-eyed weedless? Thinking of getting a jackhammer? Go with stealth blade or regular jackhammer. I like the cross-eyed weedless, the Z-Man cross-eyed. It is really good. I like the jig too, the cross-eyed jig. But yeah, that weedless, you still catch them. You lose a little bit. It seems like you lose just a little bit more fish, just because sometimes I guess they bite, and it just the way they bite it, those weed guards will get in the way. But definitely, man, I love it. Love that, all those really. So let's see. Is the jackhammer really worth the cash? I believe so. Depends on your budget, really. It really is. Every jackhammer that I have, with the exception of a few that I got at a media event, I've bought every one of them full price. And I don't even want to tell you how many I've got. Way too many. But I'll buy 1 or 2 a month. Or if I'm going to a tournament, I usually buy 4 or 5. You know, if I'm afraid I'm going to run out of a specific color. Do I still use JJ's Magic? Yes, all the time. All the time. And you guys that don't know what JJ's Magic is, it's a dye for soft plastics, but it's got a really strong garlic scent. They've got a clear that's like just for the scent. And I don't know what it is about that, but all I know is that I get more bites than I did with Spike It. I get more bites than I do when I don't use it, and they hold on a lot longer. So, oh, you moved yours to Saturday night. See, I'm not a fan anymore. So Tackle Junkie moved his to Saturday night. So I moved mine to Thursday so I could have a date night with my wife, and plus Friday night's gotten a little crowded. Anybody know anybody that has one on Thursday nights? I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But do you ever fish in the same spot right after you just caught one there? Yes, all the time, 100%. I give you for instance. I was fishing a lake called Leech Lake in Minnesota, and I had never been there before. It was my first day fishing it, and I'd done a lot of research, and I kind of knew what to do. And I'd looked off the boat dock and seen some shells of some crawfish that were green, pumpkin, and orange. So I grabbed a green pumpkin and orange flipping bait, and I went fishing. Found them on these points of grass that stuck way out. And I love fishing Minnesota because people in Minnesota think the only thing to catch is a walleye and a crappie, so they leave my largemouth alone. And so the largemouth are fairly not unpressured. But I made 4 casts to the same piece of grass that was sticking out a little bit further than the rest of the grass. One piece of grass, and caught 4 4-pounders off of that same piece of grass. Always throw right back in to where you caught a fish, because they usually aren't alone. Especially one of the telltale signs of that is when they pick it up and swim towards your boat, or pick it up and really quickly swim away from wherever they picked it up at. Usually means that there's other fish in the area and they were trying to get that bait away before another fish takes it away. You ever seen crows fight over something, or other birds fight over food? Bass are the same way. One will pick it up and the other ones will try to take it from them, so they swim off. So tell my wife, Sarah, this is live and I'm not rewatching your videos again. Sarah, this is live. I promise. I really do. That's the best comment of the night right there. Sorry, guys. I love that one. That was the best. I'll be competing with the Fish North Georgia show. Yeah, I probably will. They have theirs on Tuesday too. So let's see. Light line fishing. I don't have any thoughts about that. I don't really let that kind of stuff bother me. Andy Leonard. Want to make a lot of money, design a bait that Kentucky Lake carp will bite. That's a pretty good deal. Goodness. Oh, my boy's back in town. I just saw that $50 dono come up. David Fields, my brother. How are you, man? How's Disgusta? Oh, I appreciate the $50. I'm definitely going to take her to dinner. She's had a rough week. So she's a manager of school nurses, and she works for the hospital, and the hospital has contracts with all these different schools, and she's been going around to all these schools giving flu shots and COVID shots, and I think she's given like 1,000 shots this week. And so she's whooped. I feel bad for her, but yeah, definitely. Thank you, brother. I'm definitely going to take her out to eat. Always love you and your wife. Did you say Tuesday or Tuesday? I said Thursday. Do you fish with gloves in the winter? If so, what kind? I typically don't. But when I do, I'll have some that are neoprene that have fold back fingers is what I'll have. I know NRS makes some, but you can find them all over the place. So when it's super, super cold, what I'll do, and one of my northern kayak buddies taught me this, is under my neoprene gloves, I'll have latex exam gloves. And what those do is they keep the water from, your neoprene will absorb that water, but it will stay warm. But the latex exam gloves underneath it are your layer that keeps your fingers dry. And so it really does make a difference. And it's still easy to handle things and that kind of stuff. But I thought that was a neat trick that I learned last year. So actually 2 years ago, because I had them in my truck when COVID broke out. So Stefan, what's going on, brother? You're almost too late. I'm going to be on this thing for just a few more minutes and I'm going to jump on. Michael Gladden just jumped on. What's going on, man? Let's see. All right. Let's see. There we go. Last question. Can you please make some videos for us folks in the north? Could use the Fluke's advice for Northeast Ohio this time of the year. Whew. I have never fished up there this time of the year, but I probably could. It would take me a while to get to where I understood a little bit more about up there. I go to Buffalo, New York every spring, but I've never been up there this time of the year. So typically fishing Niagara River, Lake Erie, that kind of stuff. But all right, guys, I'm going to jump off. I really appreciate it. Like I said, our sponsors are the Bass University. Be sure to check them out. The link's down in the description. And man, I'm telling you, it's the best $15 you'll spend every month. You can get rid of some of those apps that you subscribe to that you don't use anymore. I know you can. Spend that $15 on something that's useful. But anyway, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out in the water. Go out and catch some fish. And have a great day. We will see you. And I'm totally off my timing. There we go.